Gigantic.
It is November 13th, 2023. It is Gigantic Pop number 11 tonight. Talking about the best NES Nintendo games of all time. Talking about WWE moving NXT to the CW, Survivor Series predictions, and more. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Matt Morgan and Raj Giri. Good to see you guys. Monday Night Raw just ended. It feels like old times.
It does. It does. I agree.
It's been a minute, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How did you do this for so long on the East Coast, Matt, at like 11 o'clock at night on a Monday?
Not wanting to.
Yeah.
To be honest,
we had to grease those palms a little extra.
Yeah, right. Hey, at least you're not in your truck. You know, you're inside indoors. It's good. Oh man, I did the Wrestling Inc. podcast alone the other night for NXT last week.
How?
There was a scheduling.
They stopped caring.
No. Wrestling Inc. You're static if you're watching this. You care. There was just a scheduling mishap. Oh no, Matt, I just talked.
How did you cover it? I'm saying.
I mean, I've done like a radio show before and stuff, but I could always toss to music. I couldn't do that for this. I did 45 minutes where I was like, okay, now we're going to talk about the news. Now we're going to talk about the results. And I leaned on the chat room. The chat room was so supportive. So I was able to put comments there. I was able to interject their opinion. Like it was super weird, but you know, now that I've done it, I could safely say I never want to do that again.
I bet.
That's rough.
Because that never happened. Yeah.
To be fair, you should be paid double for that because you had to do double the work, right?
That is true.
If I showed up to do my job tomorrow and I did somebody else's job for them, I definitely would expect to be paid for that person as well.
Well,
put that on the invoice, multiply it by 2 and see what happens.
So in the past, okay, so there happened times before where I think maybe Matt, you had something at the last minute, or maybe Issa or somebody was out, and I like watched the podcast or watched the show, and then I was like, okay, we're just not going to do the podcast. But I think that I was kind of bummed that if I'd known ahead of time, it would have been nice to have a night off. But I was like, I already spent 2 hours watching the show. Spending 45 minutes talking about it now, like, is not that bad. You know?
Yeah.
Like the time was already sunk. So
yeah.
It is what it is, but no, it's good to be with you guys. So yeah, do we want to talk about NXT going to CW before we dive into some Nintendo stuff? Start off with that.
Man,
sounds fine to me. I think the biggest takeaway with NXT going to CW is NWA and how that affects them, because that was rumored to be their TV deal. Now, Mike Johnson, a PW insider, he's basically reported that there was never really any solid reporting that NWA was going to CW. It seemed like it was more speculation, but I don't know where this leaves NWA, you know, because if you look at the landscape of television right now, who else do they got?
Yeah. I mean, Women of Wrestling is like first run syndication, right?
Yep, syndication, and outside of that, you know, you look at the top players. You got TNT, which you know is already taken, NBCU taken, Fox taken for now. So yeah, it kind of leaves very few options for the NWA, and you know, it's tough. It's really tough to be number 2 when you have a strong number 1. It's way tougher to be number 3 or number 4. And that's kind of where NWA kind of finds itself right now. And yeah, it's a tough one.
So hang on, I'm confused. I thought he said he was going to be on 2 networks.
That's what he said. Well, he said they had 2 TV deals. Now, I think one was the reality show, which is and that still might happen on CW. But as far as actual NWA, I just don't. It's not looking. There's no way it's going to be on with WWE.
So here's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting that it probably was in the works. It probably was talked about, and last second, the WWE decided. You know, I had a feeling WWE was probably going to think they were going to re-sign again or go somewhere else, possibly with NXT. And it turned out, you know, CW had the best offer, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And because of that, now NWA is out, in my opinion.
Hmm.
That's kind of what it looks like.
I mean, maybe it was real, maybe not. I mean, I think
It could have been. It could have been a legitimate offer, or whatever you want to call it, a deal. Until WWE, which I'm sure CW did not know was going to say, hey, by the way, we're not resigning we're not coming back to USA or whatever. We can come on your network.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing with TV, right? Until it's signed and delivered,
you don't know.
It's never. You just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You got to think for Billy Corgan right now, this has got to be so strange because Tony Khan has all this attention on him for better or worse. Everyone wants to do what AEW is going to do. WWE can't lose. Too big to fail. The definition of just have so much momentum with the Endeavor thing. And as if that wasn't enough for Billy Corgan, OVW is having this amazing boom period due to Netflix, where every show is selling out every week. The hottest probably it's been certainly since the WWE relationship stopped. And it's NWA just can't catch a break.
You're right. COVID hurt them really badly.
Yeah, they had some nice momentum at the start.
They did.
And I'm surprised they've never merged with Impact. That actually seems like the potentially logical move. Or TNA.
Oh, they kind of got burned by Impact.
Yeah.
Billy Corgan lent.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying Billy Corgan lent them that money. Remember at the end there, and then they kind of screwed Billy Corgan out of that deal. But
when he was working with Impact, yes.
Yeah.
Well, also they're two different shows because they're two completely different contexts. NWA World is old school throwback, right? And Impact is, I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah. I mean, I always hear good stuff about Impact, and people seem very excited about the TNA revival.
I honestly, I hear the same thing on Twitter and random places. Yeah.
I mean, Impact's been good quality wise. It's just that there is so much wrestling on TV right now that between WWE and AEW, if you include NXT, what is that, 12 hours of wrestling a week between the two shows?
Yeah.
So it just makes it tough to create demand for a third brand when you have that much.
Yeah.
I give Impact credit, and Matt, you certainly, I mean, you were back there briefly a few years ago, but it seems like they figured out, due to their parent company and however much money they make them, they don't overspend. They make the most of what they have. And, to their credit, they're still going strong. They still do decent live numbers wherever they go. And people speak well of them. I think it's funny that they haven't benefited more from this boom period, but it's not like the Impact of old where it's oh, we don't know how they're doing with money, what's going to happen. They've got it dialed in now, it seems like, to sustain.
I do hope so.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think it takes, I feel like they feel like AEW light right now. They have good matches and everything, but you see good matches all over the place right now. So until you have something that differentiates yourself from the competition, it's just going to be a rough go. And I kind of feel like that's where they're at right now. And
ironically, it's NWA. That's the only show that I've seen that has any kind of different feel to it to the others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, AEW feels different from WWE, but
yes.
Right.
But still formatting goes, the way the picture itself looks, as weird as that may sound, all of it is just so much different when I watched anything from NWA.
Right.
It just seems so hard to make time for another wrestling show right now.
And especially they have no stars. They lost LA Knight. They lost James Storm. Those guys were just great. Nick Aldis. They were just great promos. They really made you want to watch that show. And I mean, who do they got right now?
Yeah.
Weird, but the CW, NXT, that's going to be different. No more overruns. And I wonder what it's going to do on the ratings, because right now, most West Coast fans have a variety of legal ways to watch the East Coast airing of NXT, but on the CW, that's not going to be easily possible.
I'm just gonna be honest. CW is still a big network. Do they have actual shows on there that people are watching nowadays, or no?
No.
They had all the DC stuff. I mean, I think they still have Superman.
That's right. And Flash.
Yeah. Yeah,
Riverdale
Flash
back
ended.
in the day.
Riverdale. I mean,
Arrow.
Riverdale just ended.
Did it really?
Yeah,
What
they
did?
like Riverdale, the Archie series,
I
where it was
didn't
all
see.
like
I never watched it.
supernatural. It's supposedly
It's
good.
actually a good show. It was a
Yeah.
good show. I watched the first couple seasons. It was.
Did you say it was supernatural?
Yeah, they incorporated. They did like a lot of
Don't
crazy
tell me.
shit.
I'm
with
gonna
it.
watch it. I'm gonna start
Okay.
watching it tonight.
Okay. But yeah, it's not the Archie comics of our youth. It's a different.
No,
take
it's
on
dark.
Archie.
Okay.
It's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Glenn,
think. Yeah.
one more
please.
thing. Where can I watch that on my phone?
It's got to be streaming somewhere,
I
right?
think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's probably on Netflix.
Okay.
I'll just.
It's
yeah.
one. I think that's where I watched it. It was one of those. I don't know if it's still on there.
Thanks.
But
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, CW, but hey, good. WWE got that money. WWE stock is still down. I think
TKO. Yep.
Yeah, TKO. Sorry. The Raw rights numbers are probably going to be the big determining factor for the trajectory that the future. This is not financial advice.
It'll be interesting because right now you look at where TNT, TBS, because with AEW, if WBD does try to make an offer for WWE, which they are apparently in the picture, that would be disastrous for pro wrestling, in my opinion.
If what?
So there have been reports that WBD is interested in WWE, like they've had talks.
WBD.
Warner Brothers
So-
Discovery.
TNT, TBS, and so the rights
HBO
fees are
Max.
up next year. So if they drop AEW and go to WWE, that doesn't leave many options for AEW really. Outside of FS1 is like the only realistic one.
Yeah, and they'll go the way of TNA. I mean, no disrespect to them today, but when right after I left, going from Spike to some other network that was lesser, another network after that was even lesser than
Right.
that, and then these next networks I never heard of a day in my life.
Yeah, Pop TV. I don't think I ever. That was Pop was the first one, I think, right? That
I
they
believe
went
so.
to.
I remember I retired and came back like 3 years later and wrestled a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So Jackson could see me wrestle live. And I think I remember like them, hey, make sure you tweet out. And like Pop was like the @ I had to put in there. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
And it's
It was
weird because
Pop. Yeah.
Pop took off. Pop had the U.S. rights to Schitt's Creek, a huge comedy.
Yeah. Even I know what
Yeah.
that is.
And that like took off, but wrestling didn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
So what I want to know, Matt, about the Spike TV years, like,
Yeah.
did you get to go to the upfronts? Did you get to do any cross promotion with
Mhm.
like Blade the series or anything?
No, we're serious, but I got to do upfronts for him. Yeah.
That's nice. It's fun.
I was their main, that sounds arrogant, but whenever I tell people like, listen, I was on the road 4 to 5 days every week for just about 12 and a half years straight. They're like, come on, we were at TNA. You went on the road 4 days a week. You guys only did 2 house shows and 1 TV. No, I would, because I was their PR guy. So I would go to the town before we would get there or in advance if it was like a big pay-per-view down the road later that month. And I'd stay there a day afterwards as well to do more or be flown to where we're going to be going the following week and do all their PR for them. Ironically, do things like I'm doing now as a mayor or commissioner in my city now in Longwood, but like doing things like that, ribbon cuttings I've done on behalf of TNA. I swear to God, I even gave a championship belt to a mayor somewhere in Arkansas. Just random places.
It's funny, Matt, in the like 7 years I've known you, I know you have a degree in communications. We have never talked about you doing PR work for TNA, which is crazy to me as someone who's worked in public relations and marketing, like, and consulted for that and worked on that for so much of my life. I don't know why I never put that together with your degree.
I like doing it. I like being dependent on. I like the fact that they know that they could depend on me rather.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing about
and you
Mark
stand out too, like it's a smart
So
tool to use.
That's it. So if you're not watching wrestling and you see a 7 foot 300-pound guy walk in with the back down with a big long beard, you know what I mean? You're gonna stick out, right? So like, oh, that guy looks like a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To like somebody who doesn't watch wrestling ever, and it's meeting.
And then you're also well spoken and everything else. So it made total sense for them to use
that was Mike Weber's idea, and then got stuck with that for about 5 years straight with them.
You're doing all the morning TV and local radio.
I did like it though.
Yeah.
I love promoting that company because I really did love working there. I did.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I mean, I think, and people don't realize that actually. That's one thing I like about the OVW show, the wrestlers on Netflix. At least that shows. I mean, I used to do concert promotion back in the '90s. Like, it shows everything that goes in
Yes.
to
Yep.
spreading the word to get people to actually show up for something. It is not as easy as you just buy an ad, or nowadays, oh, you send out tweets and you do stuff on Facebook. I mean, it's evolved, but there's still a lot of work that goes into promoting live events.
Yep. And OVW is still doing the flyers on windshields that we did. I remember when we were there.
Yeah, God, I never want to put up a flyer again in my life. I've gone through easily 200 staple guns in my life because they always break or you always lose them. But
that show was great. We should cover it one of these weeks.
Wrestlers. Oh, that was so good. Yeah,
really
so
good.
It's interesting. We haven't heard a follow up though. Hollywood Haley J had that tryout with WWE. She was not medically cleared.
She had a dark match with AEW.
Oh, recently?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
After the show aired.
Yeah.
And,
I think she'd be great in NXT, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but we'll see. So let's talk a little bit this week. Let's take a hard turn. Actually, this goes a little back to my past, but let's talk about the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. These kids these days, they know the Mario Kart, they know the Switch, but they've never blown into a cartridge to try and get a broken game to work. They've never sat there and just literally mashed on the buttons with the plastic. They've never sit there and told their younger sibling when they were playing a 2-player game, hey, if you fall off this cliff in Mario, it takes you to a secret world, and then they die, so it's your turn. They don't know.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was my big move as a child, to troll my brothers.
When you buy your Nintendo, what game did that come with?
I had the combo. Oh, Matt, you first.
I had the big one who had stupid Gyromite.
Gyromite and Duck Hunt.
and Rob the robot I never used, but Duck Hunt, I love Duck Hunt. It was my second favorite game when it first came out.
Wow. Yeah, I had the one just with the Zapper, Duck Hunt, and the Mario Brothers, but not the one that was on the same cartridge, which later happened.
Sorry, Broncos win. Sorry, I'm turning this off, but yes. All right.
They scored right there at the end. They scored it.
They got the field goal right at the end.
Good. I had the field goal kicker on my fantasy team. Sorry.
Bigfoot Sneakerhead saying the best NES game is the Super Mario Duck Hunt combo, and using that gun was amazing.
It was.
I loved it.
Hogan's Alley. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Which one did you get, Raj? Of the
it was Gyromite and Duck Hunt.
Damn.
Gyromite. I can't even remember what that game was.
Glad if you remember, this was the expensive one. That was
the $150 to $199 one.
Yeah.
I know about that. Was on my list for Christmas. And my mom was.
Spoiled brat. I feel bad now because she paid an extra $50 for that stupid robot I never used.
I mean, if you had it unopened, do you know how much that'd be worth if you had the entire system never touched? I mean, like unopened copies of Mario are going for like 5 and 6 figures. Like it's crazy, right? I mean, granted, it's a bubble. It's probably already bursting, but yeah, man. I mean, the robot one, like that was huge. That was before you could just get the system with Mario or the bare bones system.
What other games did that robot work for?
I don't remember.
No.
I think that was it. Like I only remember it for that game, and that was kind of it.
But dude, I mean, come on. We had Akari Warriors was the Contra before Contra. I love the Akari Warriors when that first came out. And in retrospect, I went and looked it up online. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought these graphics were good when they first came out.
So I told you guys, like I was in Nintendo Power. Like I was listed high score for Contra. They had a max score of like 9999999. And so what happened was I had the fire gun, and the timing worked out. There was one level where if there's these rocks that just keep falling, and every time you shoot the rock, your points keep going up. And so I just put my chair on the controller, left it on overnight, and in the morning, I didn't even know there was a maximum score, but I woke up in the morning, had the maximum score. We had a Polaroid, took it, sent it in, boom, I was in Nintendo Power.
I'm very impressed by that. Very impressed, especially as a kid.
Yeah. Game the system.
You did, but Metroid. Oh God, how many? Double Dragon.
Kid
Well,
Icarus.
I mean, Double Dragon though. Remember the arcade game Double Dragon? That remember when the NES version came out and it was like,
I do. How about this? How about this? You guys remember Russian Attack, but we always would pronounce it incorrect. It was
Yeah.
Rush, RSH-N-Attack.
Right.
yeah.
And we would say it like Russian Attack, like the Russians are attacking.
Oh,
Or
man.
Rampage. You guys ever play Rampage?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was the problem though. So for me, I mean, when we get to the tail end of Nintendo, my frustration was that you would play these arcade games and you'd love the game, and then
Yeah.
the NES version, like Marble Madness, would come out, and you're like, "Oh, this is
Except
bad."
one. Except
Which one?
one. And that was Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which was better
Mm.
than the arcade normal Punch Out. The normal Punch Out.
Yeah, they did it. They made it a much.
They're
They made it a
different.
better game.
Because you had the
gee.
little Mac in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, whereas the
Yeah.
arcade version, you were still the same size. It was a green.
Green, invisible, whatever.
Right.
Arcade
Mike
game's
Tyson's-
way harder. I've never beat the arcade game.
I did, but it was harder. I agree, but not. Wait, no, it
Mr.
wasn't.
Sandman
Dude.
was the
You-
last.
Yeah, dude. If you no, it wasn't. It was Super Macho Man. I thought was second to last. It was the last. No,
Was it Sandman or Macho Man?
no. Sandman was like one of the last
on.
2 to 3 bosses.
Okay,
Yeah.
I could have won
arcade.
Super Macho Man.
Yeah.
Come on.
The thing,
I
okay, here's the
remember-
thing about the arcade Punch Out is that the patterns, at least when it first came out, because remember also they had standalone games and they had the Play Choice 10 games that had all the different ones in it that you could choose, and it was one. But I don't remember people know, like I didn't know the patterns for the original Punch Out when that came out, which is
What do
why
you
I
mean
had
by that?
trouble.
The patterns,
Like
the
Ball
three
Bull
guys.
when you
Yeah,
got when you got
King
to dodge.
Hippo.
Oh,
remember?
King
Like I didn't know
Hippo,
the game.
You got
Like
to punch in the belly and then two uppercuts.
Would you the first time you did that with King Hippo when you punch him in the gut and his pants fall down? Could you not wait to like show your parents? It's like, look at this, Dad. I thought that was like the coolest thing.
It was cool. I remember Ball Bull. They have 2 versions because he comes back later and he's just hard as hell to beat. You can't beat
Yeah,
him.
hit him with that gut. You hit him with that gut shot as he charges you, right?
Yeah, you have to time it perfectly to
Yeah.
dodge. Because otherwise, it's an automatic knockout. It's not. It doesn't even weaken you. It just knocks you
Yeah.
out and he hits you.
Okay, so it's Glass Joe, Piston Hurricane, Bald Bull, Kid Quick, Pizza Pasta. That's
Kid Quick.
culturally sensitive.
This must be
No,
later.
no,
Mr.
that's,
Sandman.
This
that's
is
not,
later.
that's not Mike Tyson.
This isn't the NES.
No, not Mike
yeah.
Tyson. No, I'm saying the arcade version.
All right.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So Mr. Sandman is the big bad in the arcade version.
Okay.
Boom.
Tyson's, though. Find out for who's that on
Oh
Tyson.
yeah, that's easier. Mike Tyson,
Oh, let me if I don't remember that.
Punch
So
Out.
Tyson's Punch Out. It was Super Macho Man was the last, and then you got Tyson.
Yeah.
Who was Mr. Sandman second to last?
Okay,
Before
so-
Super-
Yeah, Sandman, Super Macho Man.
Here we go.
and,
I got it right here.
Yeah,
Glass Joe, Piston Hurricane, Bald
Von
Bull.
Kaiser. Oh, where's Von Kaiser?
Well, hold on, I'm getting there. Kid Quick. Wait, why is Kid Quick?
No,
sorry,
he's
no,
not
sorry.
in-
Okay, sorry. No, why is this in the wrong order? Mike Tyson. Sorry, Von Kaiser. You're right. Why? Okay, this order is terrible on this.
Yeah.
Von Kaiser, Piston Honda, Don Flamenco, King Hippo,
Don
then Mike
Flamenco.
Tyson, who was replaced by Mr. Dream.
Whoa. We there was Great Tiger. There was a ton of
more
other people.
mid
Yeah,
Carter.
I know this is super. Wikipedia has this super out of order. Hold on, let me
Okay.
look. I'm gonna find this.
It was
correctly.
Glass Joe, Don Flamenco, Ball Bull.
Mhm.
Gosh.
That was Glass Joe Von Kaiser. Von Kaiser was 2 or 3.
Yeah. But regardless, this isn't the most.
Yes.
No, this is an important conversation.
Yeah, this is
It is.
critical because Raj, if your memory of this goes, like it's all over. you
I
know?
know. Then it's like,
okay.
what's the
Yes, this is true.
Here we go. Glass Joe, Von Kaiser, Matt was right.
There you
Piston Honda, Don Flamenco, King Hippo, Great Tiger, Bald Bull, Piston Honda again,
Yep.
Soda Popinski, Bald Bull
Oh.
again, Don Flamenco again,
Yeah.
Mr. Sandman, Super Macho Man, and Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I thought there was 2 bald bulls. Am I making that up?
No, there was.
All right, he's number 7 and number 10.
Okay.
Yeah. The second
Ah.
one's tough. The second one's tough because he knocks you out right away.
Yeah. What else games did you guys like?
Metroid blew my mind because how you could walk in the wall and like find hidden areas and like
Yes.
warp through things. Like I probably spent 80 hours on the game just trying to find stuff
Yep.
and explore. Like that, I mean, like honestly, like that was a game that just like opened my imagination to what a video game could be.
Good job, Vincent R.
Yes,
thank you,
Vince Nair
Vincent.
remembers it.
Well, with Metroid, that was my first
Yeah.
game that Nintendo Power of the Magazine influenced me enough to go buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metroid was
weird.
awesome.
That and Kid Icarus came out like the same day. So I remember, yeah.
It did.
And I had Kid Icarus.
I still know the theme song to Kid Icarus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Legend of Zelda, though, I mean, the original Super Mario Brothers is great, but Legend of
Oh.
Zelda was also the one where it was just like this. I think that's what made me want the system, because it was
Oh.
like, here's something you can only play at home. It's not an arcade game.
Such a great game. Such an amazing game. So, like, do people talk about that and give it the credit it deserves?
First
Being,
Zelda,
like, the first real, if you really want to break it down and be nerdy about it, do people at least give it credit? Like, hey, this is kind of sort of the first open world game ever.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely the first role playing game in the US. There were role playing games for a console system, like that was like as we know it, right? Where it was deep. Do you guys remember that when you would call the Nintendo hotline, they wouldn't always tell you the answer. They would give you weird cryptic clues to things. And it would be like, I'm trying to find the entrance to this dungeon. And they're like, have you tried laying bombs around rock structures? And
they all did that back then.
Yes.
Man. It was such a
they
scam,
wanted you
right?
to figure it out on your own. What was a free call? It was long distance. You didn't have to. Actually, originally it was an 800 number. I used to call it, what was it? 1-800-242-2602? Let me look at it. Is that right? No.
I do
it's
remember
422.
the WWF hotline back
Yeah.
the night SummerSlam '88 happened.
Yeah.
And I called the hotline. You have to sit through 20 minutes, right? Before they get to the main event. And then at the end, they're like, if you want to know what Miss Elizabeth's secret weapon was, call this number. And you got to call another number. Call that. Then you got to sit through another 20 minutes. It was like my parents, when they got the phone bill, it was like $150.
The funny thing about the Nintendo one, originally it was a customer service line that was supposed to help you, like, how do I hook this up to my TV? And people would call it and ask for advice for games. So yeah, it was 1-800-422-2602. And then because it was an 800 number, they were like, okay, this is still going to be free, but we can't pay for it because they had to pay for the 800 number minutes. So then they changed it to 206-8857-529. But then you had to call long distance to call and talk to somebody to help you get through the game. And I would do that all the time. I would ask about like games that were coming out. Like I was just I remember being in junior high at school on the payphone calling the 800 number and just like talking to the game counselors, being like, how do you get a job at Nintendo? I want to make video games.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever beat a game? Did you ever beat a game the weekend you got it?
Yes. Yeah.
What was I want to say, because that Contra code came out very, 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 very quickly.
Yeah.
We beat it believe it or not, the first time I beat it was with 2 players.
Yeah, it's easier with 2 players.
But anyways, yes, the answer is yes. But guys, like, think about back in the 80s, like when this first came out, this was like the biggest Christmas gift you could possibly get, or a birthday gift.
Oh yeah.
And the same year, like every kid, just about, not every kid, but within those 2 years of it first coming out, and then its following year, let's say, I'd say just about every kid in America got this thing.
Oh yeah.
And you didn't have the same kind of choice. I mean, right now, PS5 is still like the dominant gaming system right now, right?
Yes, it is.
More than Switch or anything else.
My opinion, yes.
Well, it has. I don't think it's outsold here. Let me see top U.S. consoles. Let's see what the current numbers are at.
Oh, I don't know about numbers. I just know about games. And
it's definitely the most in demand
by far.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, it's like I was able to get a new Xbox a year before I was able to find a PS5.
Yeah,
like I had to do. This is the crazy thing about consoles now. I mean, Nintendo was a little hard to find maybe early on, but it's like, dude, if you want to find a PS5, you're going to those websites that hit refresh on like all the sites and send you a text alert, like when something's available. It's kind of ridiculous now what you have to do to get one, but Oh, actually, no. The Switch is okay. So the most popular game console of all time is the PlayStation 2 with 155 million
Oh, wow.
sold. The Switch is at 132 million. That's actually kind of crazy.
It is.
But the PS4 is at 117. So if you combine the PS4 and PS5, and which makes sense, that's the biggest because the PS4 is at 117.
Xbox
And-
ain't nowhere on there, huh?
Xbox, the 360
Yeah.
is,
what was
or the Wii's at 101 million.
What's
That's
NES?
what-
I mean,
Hang on, Xbox 360.
Xbox 360 is at 84 million. The Xbox One, the current one, is 58 million.
Wow.
Or pardon me, the current one's actually 21. So Xbox One was the one before that. But yeah, let's just look up the NES just out of curiosity.
The
because
original.
it was a
Nintendo?
different time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you guys call it NES? I don't ever recall calling it NES.
I did, but I worked in the video game.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah.
That's Glenn's snobbery. He's thumbing his nose down at us, folks.
I mean, I
Oh,
could
man,
be. I could be
That and
worse.
Rod, when Glenn gets off the show tonight, he's like, "Oh God, hon, it was horrible." Oh, you can imagine my chagrin when I sit there and talk about bald bull with Matt and Rod for 2 hours. Little they know.
I could have been worse.
yeah.
I could have been, well, if you want to talk about the original Famicom, that's the Japanese name. But the
These
NES,
folks-
yeah, the NES/Famicom is 61 million combined worldwide.
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what about Neo Geo? If you were really cool, Glenn, you should know what that was.
I had a Neo Geo. They sent me one, and I loaned it to my friend
Wow.
Jeff Gersman, who I now do a video game nostalgia podcast with, and he fucking sold it, and he never gave it back to me. I was pissed.
Mm.
He sold
Uh,
you. Wow, that system was way ahead of its time. Baseball Star. There's so many cool things on that.
Yeah, it was like a $500 system with $200 cartridges.
Never be able to afford it. I'm just saying, my friend Yanni had
Yeah.
my best friend Yanni had it, and I would always go there to play it.
Yeah,
I've
well,
never played it.
the thing with the Neo Geo is it was the exact same. I mean, it was the exact same guts as the arcade system. This wasn't a port of the game. It was exactly what you played in the arcade.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You remember Baseball Stars? What was Baseball Stars on that? Where was Baseball Stars on?
I believe Baseball Stars was on that.
Yeah. Sandra O, the Japanese home run king. Anytime he gets up the bat, hits a home run. How about hey guys, for Nintendo, RBI Baseball? Did you guys get into that at all?
I mean, that was the first great baseball game on the NES.
Never played baseball.
That was
Ever.
my favorite. That was my favorite
Yeah.
game for quite a long time.
Oh, because before that,
Played
there was
Double Dribble. Did you guys play Double Dribble?
Oh, I
yeah.
love Double Dribble. Yeah.
I mean, the spiritual, sibling of Blades of Steel, the hockey game. Like Konami had a
Yes.
bunch of those. That was good.
Yes.
Konami was
Konami.
awesome.
So when I went to Japan for the first time, wrestling for New Japan, we passed by Konami. I almost friggin' had like a heart attack on the tour bus there. Like, what? Like, Konami. Like, I used to play all their games when I was a kid. And they're like,
Yes, Bigfoot Sneaker and Mega Man, so underrated. I mean, Mega
Yeah.
Man's still going. There've been, and there's like
Really?
Mega Man kart racing games. Like Mega Man is like they've reinvented that a bunch of times. It's just a great idea that you steal the powers of the bosses you defeat. And I
Yes.
mean, Mega Man, yeah, that
great idea.
those. So with Nintendo, the interesting thing about the Nintendo Entertainment System is okay. So you have the first party games, and first party means Nintendo made the game, which is your
Yeah.
Mario Brothers, Zelda,
Duck
Punch
Hunt.
Out. Yeah.
Oh, Excite Bike.
Yes, Excite Bike, RC Pro Am. Those are Nintendo made
Oh,
games.
yeah.
Those are usually
Rad Racer.
great.
Yes.
Rad Racer was we beat it the weekend we got it. I was disappointed with that because Rad Racer was pretty easy. But then you had your third party games, and of those, like anything by Konami, like Contra, Double Dribble, Goonies 2, Castlevania, like those were all solid
Oh.
games.
Love both those. Goonies 2 was
Yeah.
awesome. Goonies was awesome. So was Castlevania.
And
Metroid
then,
was Konami, right?
no, Metroid was Nintendo.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, yes.
Yeah, Capcom did Mega Man back before Street Fighter. Capcom was known for Mega Man and a lot of decent like arcade ports, like 1941, things like that. But then the problem with Nintendo though was then, I mean, I'll just call them out by name. Like when LJN started making games, like those really shitty licensed games,
Oh,
like
that's
Friday the
right.
13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Gotcha, based on the paintball game. Like they had a lot of shitty third party games. Like that's what, in my mind.
I forgot LJN made video games with the rainbow around it.
Oh, yeah.
Logo.
Mhm.
But before you could rent games, that was the problem. Is you'd buy something like that, and you were like, "This sucks." Like TNC Surf Designs. It's like, "Oh, there's a surfing level and a skating level." And I was like, "Yeah, this game isn't that great."
The
Did you-
surfing
surfing was
became
good.
impossible to do. The surfing was impossible to do, if you remember.
Did you guys ever play WrestleMania by Acclaimed?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
God, yeah.
That was the worst pro wrestling game I think ever made. It was like
Yeah.
ET on Atari. It was just, I mean, pro wrestling was
Well,
awesome. Like
Pro Wrestling, King Slender,
Yeah,
and
Starman.
King Amazon. Yes.
Starman, yeah, that was awesome. That was
Starman.
one of the best.
The backward
And then
drop.
when, yeah, and but to your point, Glenn, like when you didn't get to try it out, so when WWF had WrestleMania come out on Acclaimed, I bought it, and it was just clunky, terrible. It just felt like it was a beta release.
There's
it was
one good
god-awful.
Acclaim game, and that's Wizards and Warriors. Like, because I'm looking at
Oh,
this
yeah, that was
list,
good.
and a lot of
That was
these, I mean, they did the port of Winter Games. They had WWF, they had a Knight Rider game, they had the Double Dragon 2 arcade port, they had Narc, which was a shitty port of the arcade game. Bigfoot. Yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff. But it was funny, as Acclaim later, for future systems, they paired up with Midway, who made Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam, and they would do the home versions of those, which were good. But yeah, like, bad third parties is what burned me out as a game player, and that's why I started renting games, because it was just, you never knew if you were getting something good. You know, Nintendo Power put everything over, because that was Nintendo's official magazine.
Yes.
You're not going to say this game sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't until Game Pro came out and Electronic Gaming Monthly,
I forgot about that.
that you had well, and then when I started reviewing video games professionally for the San Francisco Examiner. But yeah, like, you needed people to tell you that, because you didn't want to spend 50 or 60 bucks on a cartridge that, you know, you were going to want to return or, you know, stop playing after a day. That was a big deal back then. The weird thing is, games now are actually, it's kind of weird how games have stayed roughly the same price given all the other inflationary concerns. New games are still like 60 bucks.
Yeah.
But
I remember buying Pitfall on Atari 2600. That was like $70 back in the day.
crazy. So crazy.
That, my opinion, was the first great like game for
Yeah.
like the original Atari.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pitfall was good. But with the Nintendo though, yeah, I think Zelda definitely all-time class. I mean, if I just say the top 3 NES games, and it's like, this is so easy. It's just like Mario, Metroid, and Zelda. And I'd probably go Zelda, Metroid, Mario if I had to pick.
For me, it's
Go ahead, Raj.
Go, Matt. I was going to say Punch Out, Pro Wrestling. What's that, number 3? Punch Out, Pro Wrestling, and Super Mario.
Yeah, all Nintendo first-party titles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mine would have been I throw mix of both of yours. Super Mario, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, definitely Zelda. Zelda's my number 1, but it's Mario should be number 1, obviously. But Glenn, was going to ask you was what ended up? They just started all just growing, right? They just had like, not like them, 8-bit. Remember that commercial? Was that Sega?
Yes, Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
That's right. And I got suckered into that and got it. It was all right, but like, those games were so bad. Like the brand games, the Sega's like games like that came with it were horrible.
Well, at first you were getting it with Altered Beast, which was great for like an afternoon.
Okay, I have the same like feeling I had when I got Super Mario Brothers, and we're all running each other's house playing it like crazy.
I remember what got me to buy a Genesis, and actually I sold a bunch of Nintendo games through the newspaper. And that's how I bought my Genesis. What I wanted to play is I wanted to play Golden Axe at home, like, because that was
a fantastic game.
Yeah. Although again, it was an arcade game, so you could beat that in an afternoon. It wasn't Phantasy Star 2 was my first like deep experience on the Genesis, because that game takes you like 60 hours to get through. And it's very well done. So it's still a really good game. I replayed it last year. But with the Genesis, look, once they got Sonic the Hedgehog, once they got EA Sports,
that was cool.
Yeah, once they had Street Fighter, like a really good version of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat with the blood.
Lakers versus Celtics in the NBA playoffs.
That was early. That was an early EA game. That was even before the NBA series. But Genesis, again, the problem was third party, and their first party games weren't as strong as Nintendo's, because with the SNES, Nintendo kind of stumbled out the gate, and Genesis really stole their thunder. You remember they were like, "Oh, Sonic is a super fast, cool game, and Super Mario World is slow, and it's for kids."
Ninja Gaiden was really good.
I forgot Ninja Gaiden. I'm changing my answer to
Really?
Punch Out Pro Wrestling and Ninja Gaiden. That was awesome. It was like a movie when you started. It was like really advanced.
No, my favorite third-party games for the NES, though, to go back to that, I think Ninja Gaiden, Bionic Commando, and the original Metal Gear.
I forget that. Why am I forgetting that?
Yeah, original Metal Gear was a deep game. Bionic Commando, you had the robotic arms, so you could swing from things. You could like shoot your.
This was on
hook.
NES or Super NES?
Yeah, no, Bionic Commando was NES.
Wow.
Okay. So it was the first Metal Gear. And the first Metal Gear, there were passcode. Like you had to like figure out the passcode off like a guard and then use that to get past things. Like it was a deep game.
On the normal NES?
On the first Metal Gear, yes.
Wow.
I feel like I would have played that. That's wild.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good game.
All right, real quick.
Yeah.
You're super. I know you're running the show here, but like
no.
So your favorite Super Mario Brothers game?
So the first one is still really solid. You know, Super Mario 2 in the US is different than Super Mario 2 in Japan. Super Mario 2 in Japan looks exactly like the first one, except it's way more difficult. It has different levels, but it's the same style. So for the US, they were like, audiences are going to want something different. So there was a game in Japan that was called like Arabian Nights or something, and that's why there's all the sand in it and whatnot. So they basically just changed the characters to Mario characters for Super Mario Brothers 2 in the US, which is still a good game. I still like that game quite a bit. And then 3, though, I think 3 was overrated. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Who did you use most on Super Mario 2? I always used the princess because she could fly.
Yeah, Princess was good. Or I would just be a Mario originalist.
I actually thought 3 was the best. 3 was
too complicated for me.
I do remember being a little complicated. I do that. I remember that part.
Yeah. Now there's like 15 buttons you got to use when you play these games. It's these kids these days with all their buttons.
Listen, brother, I was intimidated picking up my first like PlayStation remote and with the 55,000 things I thought I'd have to press. But you get it once you get a game you really get your teeth sunk into, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. But you can play. So if you buy, Matt, they have this available on the Switch. It's called Super Mario All-Stars. It's got all the original Mario games, and they even did some remasters of them so they look better, but it's got what they call Super Mario The Lost Levels. That's the Japanese Super Mario 2.
So I'm such a loser. I saw a kid playing it on YouTube and I watched it. What a freaking loser I am. What a loser. I'm supposed to be like running a city. I have a job and I have a job on top of that.
Dude, here's the thing. So I hosted, Matt, 10 years ago, I worked at a tech network. And they originally hired me to do a show about video games, but I wasn't really playing games as much then. So I was like, but sure, I wanted to get back in the game. So I did it. And then they switched it to a show where we would all play games like late at night in the studio, and we'd play like Street Fighter against each other and make bets. Like if you lose, I'm going to shave your head, stuff like that. The funny thing is they canceled the show because we had good, but not great ratings. And I kid you not, man, this was like 6 months right before Twitch launched. And there became an audience for just watching people play games. Yeah. So it's funny that I did this for like 3 months and had an amazing time just getting paid to hang out with a bunch of guys and like play NBA Jam against each other and stuff. And then, like now you can make millions of dollars just having people watch you play a game.
Yep. 100%.
It's crazy. It is so weird when you see people just going on Twitch and watching other people play games. But
our kids in this generation, they love. That's their thing. They love watching. Their dream is to be that guy with all these people watching them play a video game.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense, right? Because Matt, like you were talking about, how many times now that we're grown adults with jobs and responsibilities, like I don't just want to know how to do something in a game. Sometimes it's just like, I don't have time to unlock this. I'm just going to go watch somebody show me this little scene.
So
I want to see.
So let me ask you that. Because I got that from those Lost Levels edition that you were talking about in Japan. I'm being dead serious. I really did watch a YouTube video of this guy playing it for like an hour. I swear to you, one weekend. And I had to know what it was.
Yeah.
I'm not the one playing it. So Matt, why would you want to watch it? Because there's still some satisfaction that I got out of being able to say, okay, at least now I know what that was and everything about it without me having to go through it.
No, it's fun. And but it's kind of weird too, though, because when you think about GameFAQs or the sites that tell you how to do stuff for Nintendo Power back in the day,
wait, time out. GameFAQs, FAQs is still out.
yeah, that's the whole
I
thing.
remember that.
Yeah, but when you think about it, like it's not that different. If I'm gonna read a walkthrough that tells me exactly how to play this game, like why don't I just cut out the middleman and watch somebody else do the thing rather than me have to like buy the game, read the guide, spend the time. Like it is kind of an ultimate shortcut. And we did that as kids though, because how many times with the NES would you have the one friend that was amazing at games and you would just watch them play because they would get you to the next level. They would show you how to beat it. It was just easier, you know?
That's true. That's true. So my brother was that kid.
Yeah, especially a game like Punch Out where you see like where you die.
That's what I was just going to say.
You
Exact example I was going to use. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh, so Tom McCloskey, this takes me back saying, I wish YouTube existed when I couldn't clear Miner 2049er. That's a game for the Atari 2600, Atari 800, 400. That's the first game that my family ever got hooked on back when I was a little kid, and none of us could beat it to this day. I got an emulator and I was playing it. I still can't beat the last level. Like that game is tough. It's a platform game where you're just walking around. So you're in a mine and it's literally like Donkey Kong, you know, the way the levels are set up, and you're just trying, every time you walk over an area, it fills up the blank space. So what you essentially have to do is avoid monsters and just cover every inch of the level to clear the level. And it's difficult as hell because in the later levels, you're having to jump, you're having to like avoid things, you're having to like get out of the way before like things are going back and forth. It's still a really tough game. It's probably still, that's on my bucket list. Like I've got to find a way to beat that game, even with an emulator and being able to save it and restart it when I die. I still can't clear the last level. It's that difficult because then there's a time limit too.
Oh geez. Oh, so we're about to hit on midnight. So should we jump into Raw, or what do you guys think?
I mean, Matt and I can, if you want to go to bed, Raj, Matt and I will talk about video game all night.
Go on, but we need to have this conversation again, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
This isn't one and done.
I'll tease it. Tom McCoskey's saying, did anyone have the game genie?
Yes, I did. I cheated, but yes, I did.
Some people might say I'm part of the reason why you were able to buy the game genie in the US. But that's a story for another time.
Are you all watching all of these amazing Easter eggs Glenn is giving us? Please tell me your video thing or taking screenshots. I've taken a drink every time Glenn has somehow been responsible for setting the video game systems the way they are today.
If I wasn't born, you would never play Nintendo.
I think you did tell me this.
Yeah, I've told this story before. It's how I bought my first car.
Yeah, but you got to repeat it because I don't remember the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll tell it again. We don't have time tonight. It's a bit of a long story, but
I bought it.
Yeah, but I was involved in the trial. I was an expert witness in the trial of Nintendo versus Galoob Toys.
How old were we when that came out?
Well, I was 15 when I was in the trial. So that would have been like 91.
I mean, we're all the same age.
I was still playing Nintendo.
Yeah,
that's what I got it when it came out.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyhow, so we'll tell that another time. But yes, Raj, let's talk about Monday Night Raw instead.
Hey, Survivor Series, go home. So people say that the Survivor Series is an A show. Do you guys buy that? Do you guys buy that Survivor Series is an A show?
Not anymore. No. I used to.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, when it was those were the only times you would see the top stars, like, you know.
Yeah, you'd see Goldberg beat Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship, for example. Like you'd see big things happen.
Yeah.
But no, Money in the Bank stole its thunder a long time ago.
I think Money in the Bank Elimination Chamber, because those matches have stakes, and so people legitimately care who wins. Whereas with this, it doesn't matter who wins.
But that being said, the 2 years where we had Raw versus SmackDown and Becky with the broken nose, that year mattered, and then the NXT year mattered.
I don't know if it mattered.
You know,
I thought it did.
Dude, the NXT, yeah.
Because it didn't mean anything the following week. Everything was still back to where it was.
Okay,
I'm getting the bragging rights. NXT came in there and kicked ass, and it was like, I told you.
Yeah, I don't even think they mentioned it on TV after like the second week. Right? But it was like,
but if you're a WWE fan who watches all three brands, that was like our Avengers Endgame or Infinity War having everything come together.
I really did feel like that. I not sound like a complete nerd. I really did, though. I was stoked that NXT was able to beat them. And then some of the matchups that were created out of that.
It was
You
cool,
know what I mean? Because
but
they weren't bringing them up a lot.
But like Royal Rumble, that sets off a chain of events that
Sure.
goes to
Yes.
WrestleMania.
So
Like you don't
We still
have
think that's a hallmark pay-per-view, correct?
Oh
Yes,
yeah, Royal
there's-
Rumble for sure.
Royal Rumble. It's WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, right? In my
Okay.
opinion, in that order.
SummerSlam
And
even
then-
anymore?
Yeah, I think so because you still have the second biggest world title match of the year usually on SummerSlam.
Who do we have this past SummerSlam?
It was Roman and Jey Uso, but
Hmm.
it was kind of the climax of the Bloodline storyline. I feel like the Bloodline storyline's kind of dissipated
Waning?
since then.
It's definitely waning. Yeah.
Well, and that's okay. So my beef with Survivor Series this year is it's not the Bloodline versus Judgment Day. Like in my mind, that's the biggest thing WWE could do for that. Instead, we're getting a makeshift team against Judgment Day, which is okay, but the Bloodline, I mean, it's just they've really fumbled this with Roman being gone. Like Paul Heyman cannot be the star of the Bloodline, which they've made him. It's like the Paul Heyman and Solo show.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
But it does make it so much more special when Roman is on. Like it feels like a big deal. Like back in the day, when Hogan would come on TV, it felt like a huge deal.
Yeah,
He was rarely on Saturdays wrestling. Hogan never wrestled Saturdays.
Never.
Very
Yeah.
rarely. But if
you were lucky to see.
Yeah, but come on though, he's the champ, dude. That's being like, my father was gone for the majority of my childhood, but that occasional weekend when he was home really meant something.
Dude, the more someone wrestles, the less special it is. Like Seth Rollins special, Seth Rollins wrestles, a lot. It's a Seth Rollins match is not anywhere near.
Okay, but there's an in between. There's an and Roman could do something, but just this idea that Paul's like, oh, I'm talking to the tribal chief. He's watching at home. Like this is just
right. Yes, that is corny.
Silly. This is silly.
But Roman has earned it. I mean, for how long he's been on top, like in the main event picture, there's not many guys. I think the only other one is John Cena that has really worked a full-time schedule at this point.
I will semi-agree that it feels more special when he's there. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that trade-off is worth not having him there? So now that angle is really deflating.
Yeah.
A lot of heat has come off that from where that was.
It has the last couple.
Go back.
I think it's done.
Listen to me. Go back to when Sami Zayn was in the Bloodline and they were going. That to me was its highest.
Yeah.
It peaked earlier this year for sure.
But who's left though? But yeah, who's left for Roman? Because the problem is,
Cody.
He's gone. He comes. Okay, so that's it though. And if Cody loses again, there's no one.
He's not gonna lose.
How does the match even get set up? He's not even. How does it?
I think he wins the Rumble, right? Or he wins Elimination Chamber. One of them. Yeah.
No, it's gonna be. But did he win the Rumble last year?
Yeah, he did. So I almost think you have LA Knight win the Rumble, go after Seth Rollins, and then you have Cody win Elimination Chamber.
Okay, I love all that. I'll take that as long as LA goes on and wins the championship.
Dude, he's the guy. I don't know if he's bigger than Cody. I still think Cody is the guy to beat Roman, but LA Knight.
He is. He is. LA Knight's right there, and they need to keep him pumping because you're only as good as your next superstar.
Yeah. Strike when the iron's hot.
Speaking of which, did you guys see the video of Logan Paul trying to pawn the U.S. championship?
I had watched him on random networks and shows and just randoms. But no, he tried to pawn it.
Well, I mean, it's clearly a skit, but he's talking to a pawn guy, and the pawn guy's like, "What do you want for it?" He's like, 100,000. And he's like, "Who would I even sell this to?" And he was like, "I don't know, maybe Cody Rhodes or LA Knight or someone comes in here and wants to buy it."
Dude, he's putting him over. He just did it on Fox Business. They were asking him all these business questions. He was completely deflecting all the questions. Smart on his part, right? But he was playing up his stuff, how he beat Rey Mysterio fair and square. He gets it. He even on his own his brother's channel somehow popped up on my feed today because Logan was in it with the US title. So I clicked on it. And even on that, he's doing skits on there, being a complete dicky cocky heel. He's playing it up big.
To your point, he's on Fox Business Prime made $1.2 billion in sales last year, and what's he talking about? Being U.S. champion.
Yeah.
Like
Huge.
he
It's
is
so smart to put it on him.
and he is just he loves it. You could tell like
He does.
he's a kid in a candy store. He
Yes.
appreciates it.
Yes.
Much respect to
Yeah.
him.
No.
Yes.
But you know,
Never thought
that's
I'd say that, but yes.
but the problem right now that they have is it's that if if Gunther has the title and he's not losing it anytime soon, Roman has the title, he's not losing it anytime soon.
Well, it'll be him.
Like
great.
where's the action? But and with Logan, he's not losing. He shouldn't lose it anytime soon if he's really sticking around.
But that's how it should be. Title changes should be a big deal. Like when you have them change every other week, like you did back in like the Attitude Era, like they were changing all the time. It didn't mean anything. When the Godfather won the Intercontinental title, it wasn't like he was elevated like you see Gunther.
So, like, usually when somebody wins the Intercontinental, the coolest part about that, a lot of wrestlers will exaggerate, like, yeah, that was the workhorse title. I was a big Ricky Steamboat fan. I really loved his work. Bullshit. You're in the 1980s just like I was. You thought he had a cool thing because he breathed fire like the rest of us little kids did.
It was pretty cool.
Right? Like, we weren't watching his arm drags back when we were little kids and little boys watching.
Oh, you weren't sitting there as a child going, that's a very good rest spot.
Yeah. No.
Really important.
Hell no.
But you were into that storyline where Macho Man dropped the bell on Steamboat's throat.
Incredibly worried about him. Incredibly worried about him. Yes, you're right. Because the storyline, but not the actual wrestling part.
Yeah, exactly.
So really quick, my point to this, though, is that you knew who's going to have the Intercontinental Championship. Wow, that's going to be the next big guy. That's going to be the next champion.
Yeah.
So, like, they need to get it back to that. And I think
that kind of stopped
with Gunther.
Yeah. That kind of stopped with Warrior. Like after that,
yes,
it became.
Yeah, I feel it did too.
Yeah, like Warrior was kind of like the last who became. Or The Rock did too. Triple H. They also had the.
Oh, they redid it. They re-brought that back. You're right. Stone Cold, Triple H, Rock. Yeah, you're right.
But
then you started having Road Dogg and Godfather, and it just became, Double J. It just
enhanced the talents instead of,
right, yeah, being something to elevate.
The problem is, though, I don't want to watch a pay-per-view, a premium live event where it's like, well, the tag titles might change, but everything else is just gonna stay the same. Just kind of boring.
But it means that much more when it does.
Don't you guys think wrestling fans are different today, where they're not watching it the way we watch it or the way we especially used to watch it? That today, unfortunately, it is now about the moves. It is now about, unfortunately, not storyline as much. That's why I don't think the ratings are what they once were, is because they have a fan base now they're catering to that are just not WWE, really AEW and other shows as well.
Yeah,
just about the moves, and the athleticism. And I think they're catering to the fans. Go like, look, we're not stupid. We know you're not stupid. We know you know it's a work, fans. So because everybody's all in on it together, kayfabe's completely dead. So we're all gonna talk like we're on the same level. That you're in the business with us, and you were sitting next to me in the locker room. I was going over my mat. So the specialness of it is that's why that's completely dissipated.
I feel like with AEW. When they do focus on the stories, it works. Like when they do, when they were doing MJF and Adam Cole, you could see it. It was really working. Like it was having an effect on ratings and everything. And then when they get away from that and it's just match quality, you see that it's not, their ratings are falling. Their attendance is down.
It all goes out of the shitter with me when they have the pressers, though, Raj. They have pressers where their heels are out there complete, unless they're smart like MJF. They just, and Christian, you have a lot of the rest of them that don't stay in character whatsoever. And so again, I just think it's, why are people really watching nowadays? I think they say to be entertained. I think the younger fans, it's the moves. It's the holy crap. Did you see so-and-so hit a triple Indy flip? The guy, that's the guy from, name some random promotion in Japan nobody's ever heard of. Remember El Vikingo? Everyone was going bananas when he debuted.
I got a lot of shit for that one.
And when I remember it, and when I say everybody going bananas, I mean their base that's coming to the show no matter what they do. They go out in the middle ring, take a stinking dump in the middle of that ring. Those fans are still coming back. They have their money every single week, right? So that's what I don't get. Why not try to change and try to draw that?
And Matt, your favorite when they're trying to pop the fans with their cosplay, you know?
That is, yeah, that's always good too. Like the guy whose merch and T-shirt I just spent $19.99 on coming out worshiping a cartoon character or a video
Just like
game.
Ken from Street Fighter.
That's what I was talking about. Like, can you imagine if Hulk Hogan did that? Like if Hulk Hogan came out as freaking Fat Albert, or Hulk Hogan came out.
That strangely, that would not even be the most problematic thing he's ever done.
But like, no, okay, but give me another 80s good cartoon. Garfield. No,
yeah. No, if Macho Man came out dressed like Magnum PI, like,
right.
Yeah, like, no, dude, you're the star.
People should be dressing up like you, not you dressing up like other people.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yes, that, Raj, what you just said.
Yeah. You don't want, Macho Man dressing up like George Jefferson. No.
Hey.
The Road Warriors doing some sick Smurfs tribute.
Yeah.
With their...
It's like our Silver Spoons tribute. No.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like
devastated.
But I mean, the culture is definitely different now. Pop culture is really different. I mean, it's so strange.
Do you think that the fans nowadays think they're friends with these wrestlers?
Yes.
Like that's why
1000%.
I feel that too.
In fact, we've gone back on that. Okay, so here's the weird thing about social media. Sorry, Raj, didn't mean to cut you off. So as a kid, like, my greatest conundrum at 10 years old was how was I going to marry both of the twins from the sitcom Double Trouble? And I was like, I'm going to come up with a plan to do this. But we were, as children, we wrote fan letters. We had dreams and ambitions. Then we got to the Attitude Era, and I was like, these are celebrities, and this is us. Social media now has changed it, and I'm guilty of it too. It's like Baron Corbin's replying to Raj to what you said about never having seen Bloodsport before, or I make some joke about something that's kind of like an inside joke, and Sami Zayn gets it and likes it. Like, yes, we do feel more of a connection now due to social media. So I do think that that's actually been wildly successful for a lot of wrestlers. I don't know that it's ever gotten anybody to the main event of Mania, but I think it's definitely helped a lot of people rise up and build a fan base.
But
Zach,
I think the
Zack Ryder still cashing a big paycheck every single week doing it.
Yeah.
But the guys that seem way larger in life right now, who do you got? Roman Reigns, right? He doesn't do that. And I feel like the more you do it, the less larger than life you feel. And
I don't know. I mean, the Rock answered me and retweeted me like a year ago.
But he's not
wrestling anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, Roman doesn't tweet. Roman doesn't go on Twitter.
LA Knight doesn't. I mean, he's rarely doing that, and I feel like he kind of gets it. Like
Roman Reigns doesn't have like Instagram or nothing like that.
I mean, I think he has the accounts, but he's not like.
You're right.
Hey, here's me and my kids. No, he's not.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a lot of that. I mean, a lot of wrestlers, it's just stuff they're supposed to promote or charity work, or but it's not interactive. You could tell, and I don't mean this as a diss at all, but I could see where some people would think it. Like, you could tell who's trying to work developing a fan base by really interacting. And I don't mean to be cynical about it. Yeah, you can say they like to give back and interact with people.
Not. I see that from a mile away with lots of them.
Yeah. But you know what though, man? I mean, to your point about Zack Ryder, like, that's kind of what it takes to get over in this day and age. For most people, it's like you have to show that people care. And Matt, I'm sure you think about this too. It's like you have your social following because you are on national TV watched by millions of people a week, and you get to take that with you. You know what I mean? Like, you still have all those followers now that you're not wrestling anymore. And if you want to promote something you're doing in Longwood, if you want to promote this podcast, like, they recognize that's their value to stay in touch with their fan base. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, in fact, you could argue that if you look at the Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder playbook, maybe get on WWE, find a way to get to millions of followers, and then from there, figure out how that's going to sustain you to make a living the rest of your life.
I mean, just look at Logan.
I agree with that.
And just look at Logan Paul again. Like he's not out there being like, oh, that was the hardest match of my life, or acting like it's real. But he's able to use winning the title as a way to draw engagement, and and doing it beautifully. Like
he doesn't dump on it. He doesn't
Right.
dump on it. He doesn't make me feel like an idiot for watching his video. I don't know how to explain it. He's doing it. He's playing it perfectly in the middle somehow.
Because I hate when wrestlers like act like when they're on social, they're like, "I'm going to get you this Thursday," and it's like, I don't know.
Do you remember that?
It's just
Who was that guy in AEW that like was giving me shit because I said something, and I was like, "Yeah, I was replying to your tweet where you made it sound like you were going to win a match that was pre-taped and you lost 3 days ago." I can't remember who it was. It's a wrestler in AEW, not a major one, but
Like
this
QT.
happened. Yeah, it was like QT Marshall or somebody. It was somebody that was like, "Oh, watch me go out there and win this match." And I said something, and he was like, "Screw you, you Mark." And I was like, "Yeah, you're trying to put over. You're going to win this, and we all know the result ahead of time."
God.
Yeah, like it's a weird era right now. But it's still fun. But I don't know. I mean, it's like, so it's like everything with social media. In a way, we're all more connected than ever, but most people just leads them to complain more and have dissatisfaction.
I mean, there's certain things in wrestling, you guys, I really enjoy watching. There's certain angles, very few. There's some wrestlers I really, really like watching. A lot of them maybe are friends, and there's that reason too. But if I'm being honest, ultimately, when I watch wrestling today, I'm watching it with the hope it goes well, that it does well, that lots of people watch this and these guys make lots of money. Like, so I watch it with a lot of hope.
I do gotta say the ending of Raw tonight was pretty good with Drew McIntyre kind of, shaking Rhea Ripley's hand. I thought that was a good ending because it's been the same
cliffhanger
shit for like 5 months, with
it was a good
every
cliffhanger.
week.
Make you think.
Yeah, exactly. And so finally, it's like something happened. So
They haven't been doing cliffhangers as they've been getting. Actually, there's been a few here and there, but like for years they've gone without them for so damn long. But you're right. That was a really good way to end it, I thought.
Yeah. Especially because SmackDown, they still do the cliffhangers here and there, especially with the bloodline.
Yes.
But Raw hasn't been as much. So I thought it was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew is just awesome in this role. Him as a heel, feeling he's justified because you get where he's coming from too. Because he's not. He did get screwed over over and over, and so you get his point of view. And it's like that Bret Hart '97, where he's making sense. And
I'm happy to see it because I don't want to see him as a babyface again. I don't. Yeah. Not that I'm not into him. He looks like $1 million. The guy's jacked. He's tall. He's great looking. He's great in the ring. He's got everything you can want to have as a main event wrestler. But it's bored because of what they've done with him as a babyface, unfortunately. So this will be good. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Way more important than my point just now, you guys and people watching right now, is how about back? It's circa 1986. Dun, 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 dun. Hogan comes out to the ring, and instead of wearing his normal yellow and red, he's dressed up as Lion-O from Thundercats.
Wait, with the blue and white?
Dad, get it? He's dressed up as another character. Isn't it so cool? No, I would back my television in, and then I would swear off wrestling for the rest of my life. Because my golden goose, my favorite Hulk Hogan, was not being himself, you know what I mean? And and being a complete like a mark. Yeah
I hated when Hogan, remember for a little bit he was wearing that helmet with the fist on it.
I hated it.
It's like that's not Hogan.
Change his character, but it still annoyed me. I agree with you.
It's like, no, Hogan doesn't need a helmet to
keep it simple, Hogan. Like you guys should have popped way louder than that for Hulk Hogan coming out with Lion-O in my dramatic thing.
Yeah. The Mega Powers could have done some rad Care Bears cosplay and put their emotions on their stomach.
Hey, it's the Fat Albert Christmas special.
Dude,
do you remember
did you guys see
watch that one?
Did you guys see Nash's comment that Seth Rollins was like Macho Man?
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh my God. What the
wait, hang on. Physically, the way he looks as well, a little bit, maybe.
But Macho Man always seemed real. Like he doesn't seem like he was acting. Whereas Rollins with his laughing and
the laugh is the like
okay, yes. But physically, if you're looking at him,
okay.
and he's a very good wrestler.
Yes. But Macho Man
I don't
was.
know. Physically, I
Yeah.
can kind of see the mustache, the hair.
But as far as
Much-
the act goes,
He's much bigger than him, by the way. Much bigger than Macho.
It's not as good. It's not as good. Macho Man seemed more natural because Seth does seem like he's forcing it a lot of the time.
Well, he's completely acting. It's not who he is
Yeah.
in real
Yeah.
life, right?
But
Macho
Macho Man
never seemed
was
like he was
not-
acting.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think Macho eventually became his character?
Yes,
Probably.
1000%.
I kind of do too.
There's two
because
episodes.
his voice,
yeah.
he would do that
Mhm.
with his friends. Like
There's
that's how he was
Two
backstage.
episodes where he's a
Yeah.
guest on Loveline with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew in the 90s. You can find them online. They're on YouTube. Like 2 hours of him like commenting on calls and stuff and talking, and it's like, oh yeah, he became Macho Man, not an act.
Yeah.
Well, Lanny Poffo said it was because of all the weed he smoked. Like that changed his voice. But I don't know. But Macho Man was the man. Like he was authentic.
So your parents
Seth
didn't smarten you up, though. Be honest, guys. Your parents, like, I'll never forget this because he said boisterous in the middle of a promo. And my mom's like,
Macho?
Why? I swear to God, be boisterous. To whoever was in the video, somebody else was in it with him in a backstage segment, tag partner, makeshift tag partner, something. Maybe it was Elizabeth who yelled it too. I swear to God. And my mom was like, "What? Boisterous?" And my dad's like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like covering his head like this. And for the first time, like my dad was a huge wrestling fan, but like I felt a little silly about wrestling for a minute, right? Just for that 1 millisecond. And my parents going back and forth of kind of laughing at it made me think like, okay, so this dude's really over the top. They explained to me he's acting. Like that's Matt, you really think he walks around the city talking like that? I'm like, yes. And they're like, Matt, these are characters. And they had to remind me again, like 50,000 times throughout my childhood that wrestling isn't real.
But he could improvise though.
Did you ever meet Macho Man?
I wish. God, no.
I never did either. I would talk to Lanny Poffo all the time, but never met Macho Man.
Was he your favorite?
He was mine all time.
So your posters in your room, all that crap?
Oh yeah. I mean, I had I was Macho Man a few years for Halloween.
He had the coolest T-shirt, in my opinion.
The pink, the purple.
Yeah. When that first came out, that was the coolest T-shirt in the whole lineup that you'd see in the magazine.
Yeah.
And he just is such a unique character. Like anytime someone does it, you know automatically who you're talking about. Like I'm not going to do Nick Jackson, and you're going to be like, oh, that's Nick Jackson.
That could be any wrestler today.
That is true.
Right. Yes.
Credit to Seth.
That's right away, you know.
Credit to Seth and Roman. There are very few wrestlers that you could imitate now that people would get on the first try.
Right.
Even if you dressed like them. For Halloween, I bought a few different costumes. One was the Bray Wyatt, like the sweater, the Firefly Funhouse. I go out and my wife's like, so you got a new sweater? I'm like, no, it's supposed to be Bray Wyatt. And even with Issa, I threw up on the Wink podcast and I got the sweatbands to be Huskus the pig, and I had a chocolate bar, and Issa's like, you Chad Gable? I'm like, no, it's not. Like, so there's very few wrestlers you could do an impression of. I'll say LA Knight, Seth, but there's not enough catchphrases anymore. So maybe these guys haven't figured out. This is where LA Knight has it dialed in. He knows.
Yes.
Yeah, has taken over. Like that's become the new woo. You know, like when I go to AEW now, you know, that's what they're saying. They're doing they're not doing woo anymore.
Wait, what? At AEW they're chanting yeah.
After the shows, they're doing the
Wow. At AEW.
At AEW, yeah.
Interesting.
But I think Yeet has become like there's very few.
That's gonna
I mean, like a piece of
Yeet, is that a Usos thing or is that a general pop culture thing?
The Usos appropriated it from general pop culture, but look how much wrestling just kind of took something that was going on and made it their own. I was gonna say though, a piece of me died when I saw Chad Gable doing the shoosh thing, but you know what? At least he's got a catchphrase now.
At least he tried something, and you know, it does work when he does do it.
It's not Shorty G.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah. I think, but yeah, you need something. Sami Zayn briefly had the my dog thing that kind of he caught on, but yeah, it is weird when
he
you
had
think
what do
about
you, wait. He had what do you call it? Uzi.
Uzi. Yes, Uzi was the thing. Doesn't work anymore. You can't really.
They really ruined an opportunity with that. They should have let that just, in my opinion, just
I know
more.
And they had that 5 that they did.
Yeah.
Man, that would have been. I wish they would have kept going with Sammy in the bloodline. I really do, because it was so funny. It was
great.
TV.
And it was great, but I'm glad that Sammy didn't beat Roman. Like so many people wanted Sammy to beat Roman for the title, and Sammy is over in the storyline, but outside of the storyline, he's not. He's not.
But the reason you didn't want him to win is because you don't think he's a champion, or 2 is because you want it to be Cody, correct? Cody.
Well, I just don't.
Somebody
think
beat Roman, you want it to be Cody.
You want it to be someone who can legitimately be the face of the company.
I mean, Sammy would be an interesting choice, but I don't know that.
I love Sammy, but I just don't think outside of that storyline, like once he's feuding with people outside the bloodline, I don't think it has that interest that Roman versus other people has.
No, when you say that, is because of his physicality. Do you say that because of that? His look?
No. I just think in general, like it's not like Cody. Like Cody doesn't need to be feuding with the bloodline to be a main. Like his feuds are still main event.
Because today's very different. These guys don't have to be bodybuilder,
muscular.
No.
I mean, Cody's not. I mean, he's in shape.
He's in good shape. Sure. He's in very good shape.
Yeah,
I think if
but
Sammy,
he's not like
if Sammy shaved and cut his hair again, so he didn't look like Captain Caveman, I do think he could legitimately be one of the company's top guys. Yeah, I mean, he's handsome when he cleans up.
He's a great interview. He's a perfect
very thoughtful.
Out there in interviews and make the company look good.
Yeah.
I mean, he is one of the top guys, but there is a.
I know.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with Cody, it'll be interesting. I think the bigger problem is there's only so many people that are in the main event scene right now. This is the problem with Roman having run through everybody, because it's like, okay, great, you're gonna have Cody, LA Knight, Gunther, Seth Rollins.
No more Drew.
Yeah, like who's gonna and Drew? I love Drew McIntyre, but Drew, when he was champion, that wasn't setting the world on fire.
He's gonna be a heel.
Yeah,
and he's a great heel.
Yeah.
But it just Roman shouldn't lose just because it's his time to it's his turn to lose. He should lose when it's right, and you got to get the right guy who's really on fire. And if Cody loses steam, he shouldn't beat Roman. We'll see where he is at Mania. But if
do you think that's fair to make a guy go 2 years with their crappy ass writing being what is the barometer on getting that guy super red hot, like you're saying? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on the talent, but it's also on the writers to set a matchup where this guy beats this guy. That still has to happen with a Ben.
Yeah.
And that helps get guys over. And I hate when creative or former writers try to get away from saying that it's important if somebody wins or loses. It absolutely is when you're crescendoing, favorite word, right, Glenn? Going up rather on their march to becoming some sort of champion.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I agree 100%. And I think they've been doing a good job with Cody. I do kind of think if he would have beaten Roman at this last Mania, that fans would have probably turned on him. And I think Cody? by having him do more of a chase, it's going to mean that much more when he finally wins it.
I do. Yes, I agree. I just this stupid stuff they have him doing, they got to be careful with him buddying up with this person and then being in a buddy cop movie the next week with somebody else. Like they got like that's corny.
He's kind of Sting. He's like 1990 Sting.
Yeah.
No, I think Cody was when Cody came back, and everyone was like, "Oh, Sammy's not going to beat him because Cody's going to beat him." I think Cody seemed at the double S tier of the highest level of WWE, and now I think he's down. He's top tier, but he's not at the highest tier.
A little bit below where,
Because I mean, you've talked about this before. Like sometimes who you're competing against and who you're sharing segments with, like it can rub off on you in a good way or a bad way. Which isn't to say that Jey Uso or Sami Zayn or these guys are lesser, but it's just that it takes away from Cody's unique specialness as a singles superstar.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I think they're in a holding period right now too, because
Sure.
Raw, in the fall, they're just like killing time until they get to Rumble season, right? Like, there's
So
like
that's
no.
what I'm talking about. So what do you do with Cody? That's what I'm saying about the risk of waiting 2 years of a guy that you're supposed to be doing this with. Yeah, you could do a little bit of this here, then go back up again, but you cannot do this with. And
So I kind of feel
on
like
that
he's
risk.
this right now, and then come
not for
January.
too long. You cannot expect the fans to come along with this going with plateauing for too long, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. But
especially when you got LA Knight breathing down his throat.
Yeah, that's
throat.
the other
Mhm.
problem. It's that when
Mega
someone else
promos.
gets super hot. I thought it was weird he didn't win the World Heavyweight Championship for Cody, but I get because it'll be more special when he beats Roman. But I would have thought that was his consolation belt.
What you mean? He beat Seth Rollins? You mean?
Yeah, I thought he would be the champion of Raw, and that would be.
Yes, when they created it, I did too. Why didn't they do that?
I think Cody beating Roman is the story. And so
Yeah, I think because
it could have been champion versus champion. I don't know.
Yeah, but they think it'll mean more if we wait because he's not winning the Intercontinental Championship. Like,
he doesn't have it. I mean, he had the tag belt, and that was it.
Yeah, which doesn't, and that was such a hot potato.
Not a real belt.
But they got to split those up. It's ridiculous right now to have one set of belts across both brands. It makes the tag division so irrelevant.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Survivor Series will be interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap this up? Because it's almost it's 12:30 on the East Coast.
Yeah, hopefully you fans out there have been watching my boy Wembayama rip up the NBA. Put 38 on Kevin Durant's ass. But other than that, hope you all have a great night.
Yes.
And please take a second to like and subscribe. It definitely helps us out tremendously. We're still new. We've just started this. This is our 11th episode. So the likes and subscribes really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. So please take a second. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back.
Yeah, next week. Follow Matt, BP, Matt Morgan, Rogers at the Raj Giri. I'm Matt Klein Rubenstein. Have a great week, everyone. We'll catch you back here next time on Gigantic Pop. Take care.